As the great Rajasuya wound to its close, the guests, princess, priests, and elders took their leave and began the journeys home. The hall that had roared with celebration fell quiet, its purpose fulfilled. And among the last to come and say farewell was Vyas himself, the ancient sage from whom the whole Bharat line had sprung. Yudhishthir rose and received him with deep reverence, seating the sage beside him. "You have earned the title of emperor, and earned it well," said Vyas warmly. "May the illustrious Kuru race shine still brighter through you. Now give me leave to return to my hermitage, a blessing and a farewell." But Yudhishthir had a question. He could not let the sage leave without answering. He touched the sage's feet. "Master, only you can quiet my fear. The wise have read disaster in the omens of these days. Tell me, was it spent in the death of Sisupala? Or is there more still to come?" It was the question of a man who had felt, under all the glory of his coronation, a cold draught from the future. Vyas did not soften it. "Dear child," he said, 13 years of sorrow lie ahead. The omens were not spent on Sisupala. Not nearly. They foretell the destruction of the Kshatriya race itself. Hundreds of kings will die, and the old order will pass away, and it will spring from one root: the enmity between you and your cousins, the sons of Dhritarashtra. It will end in a war that all but annihilates the warriors of the earth." Vyas went on. "No one can stand against destiny. So be steadfast in righteousness, be watchful, and rule well. Farewell." And he blessed the emperor and was gone, leaving Yudhishthir holding a prophecy that made his new crown feel like a stone. The words hollowed him out. Suddenly, life itself seemed bitter, weary business, his own destiny particularly cruel. He gathered his brothers and told them what Vyas had foretold: the unavoidable disaster hanging over their house, and the joy of the Rajasuya drained from the room as they listened. Arjuna, as ever, met fear with resolve. "You are a king, brother," he said. "It is not for you to be shaken. Let us face destiny with an undaunted front and simply do our duty, whatever comes." It was the plain courage of a man who could not change fate but refused to cower before it. Yudhishthir drew strength from it and made a vow. "May God guard us and give us wisdom," he said. "For my part, for the next 13 years, I will not speak one harsh word to my brothers or my kinsmen. I will give no pretext for a quarrel, never yield to anger, which is the root of all enmity. If we deny fate its spark, perhaps we deny it its fire." His brothers assented with all their hearts. But here is the cruel shape of this story. The very first link in the chain that ended at Kurukshetra was forged out of that gentle vow. For the disaster began not with a battle, but with a game of dice. And Yudhishthir walked into it precisely because he had sworn never to give offense by refusing his cousins anything. Why would the wise and good Yudhishthir agree to a step he must have sensed was dangerous? Because a friendly invitation to a game of equal hazard could not, by the honor code of that age, be refused, and because his whole heart was set on keeping peace with his cousins. In his very anxiety to avoid a quarrel, he opened the ground for the poison seed. There is a hard lesson folded into this. The epic says, how futile the best human plans are without grace. Our finest wisdom is vain against fate. And when destiny is kind, even our follies turn to our advantage. Yudhishthir planned only peace, and his planning laid the field for death. Meanwhile, across the country, another man was planning too, For Duryodhan had gone home from the Rajasuya sick with envy. He could not unsee it. The wealth of Indraprastha, the honors heaped on his cousins, the mighty kings who had come gladly to serve them. What should have been a family's pride festered in him as a personal wound, and it would not close. The images tormented him day and night. The crystal floors of Yudhishthir's hall, so clear they looked like water. The marvels of art, the loyalty of powerful crowns. No comfort reached him, not even the company of his allies. He sat sunk so deep in his own bitterness that at first he did not even hear his uncle speaking at his side. For Sakuni had been watching. Duryodhan's uncle, lean, patient, his mind bent like the crooked dice he loved, leaned close and asked softly, "Why do you sigh so? What sorrow eats at you like this?" He asked as a physician asks after a wound he already means to use. Duryodhan poured out his poison. "Yudhishthir sits among his brothers like Indra among the gods," he said. "Sisupala was killed before the eyes of every king, and not one dared avenge him. Like merchants, they traded their honor and their treasure for Yudhishthir's goodwill. How can I not despair, seeing all this? What good is living?" Sakuni answered with false, soothing reason. "They are your brothers, Duryodhan. Why envy their prosperity? They enjoy their lawful inheritance and have harmed no one. Their happiness cannot shrink your greatness. You have Drona, Aswathama Karna. You have Bhishma, Kripa, Jayadratha and me. With such support, you could conquer the whole world. Do not grieve." Every word was designed to lead exactly where Sakuni wished, and Duryodhan rose to the bait exactly as intended. "It is true, uncle. I have all these behind me. Then why not make war and drive the Pandavas out of Indraprastha by force?" His eyes lit at the thought of battle. It was the crude answer, the obvious one. Sakuni had something far cleverer and far worse in mind. "No," said Sakuni, shaking his head. "Open war would not be easy, and it would cost rivers of blood. But I know a way to drive Yudhishthir out of Indraprastha without a battle, without shedding a single drop." Duryodhan turned to him, hope and disbelief warring in his face. "Uncle, is that truly possible?" Duryodhan breathed. "To overcome the Pandavas without the loss of a single life?" It sounded too good to be believed, and he barely dared to trust it. But the seed of it was already in him, sweet and deadly, sending down its first root. And so, with whispers and envy in a private chamber, the first steps were taken toward a catastrophe that would swallow kingdoms, begun not with swords but with words and appetite. The wheels of destiny were turning silently now, and Sakuni leaned closer to unfold the trap he had been carrying all along. "Here is my plan," said Sakuni. "Yudhishthir loves the game of dice, and yet he is a poor player, wholly ignorant of its tricks and the openings they give a cleverer man. Invite him to play, and by the Kshatriya code, he cannot refuse. But he will not face you. He will face me. And I know the dice as I know my own fingers. Against me, he will be as helpless as a child. And I will win his kingdom, his wealth, everything he owns for you, without spilling one drop of blood." Duryodhan's whole face changed, the envy in it curdling into delight. Bloodless conquest, his enemies' fall handed to him across a gaming board. It was everything he wanted with none of the risk he feared. The pact was sealed between them in that lamplit room. Only one obstacle now stood between the scheme and the dice: the consent of the blind old king, Dhritarashtra, and a doting father they both knew. is the easiest lock in the world to pick.